B'siyata D'Shmaya, let's continue a little bit of the halachas. Yesterday we started trying to go through our Seder of events, B'siyata D'Shmaya. So today I want to start just a little bit of the inyan of Tainus Esther. Obviously we have Tainus Esther before we start with Purim and everything that goes together with Purim. We've got to get into Tainus Esther. Tainus Esther, as we know, we'll have to talk about exactly why we fast and whatever, but the pashtus is because Esther wanted everybody to fast. There was some giving a mulchama, whatever it was. So Al Koponim, you have to understand as well that this is a very different fast than most of the fasts, the Tanesim that we have throughout the year. You know, Shivas B'Tammuz and Asar B'Teves and obviously Tisha B'Av and obviously Yom Kippur, because over here it's a zeicha of the Tainus that was done B'Zman Mordechai ve'Esther. It's interesting, that's why it is. It's not because of an Eis Tzara that Klal Yisrael were necessarily, and even though they were at the time, but it was more as a zeicha for what happened over there and for what Klal Yisrael fasted over there. So, first of all, the inyan of every fast, as we know, just to give a little bit of a recap, is that every fast, apart from obviously Yom Kippur, starts from the morning, starts from Alois, and therefore you are asked to eat and drink from Alois HaShachar. That means, and we've said this every time, but I'll just give a little bit of a recap, that means that if you go to sleep for the night, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize that it is before the fast has actually begun, you are not allowed to eat, even though the fast has not yet begun. And the reason for that is because you have gone to sleep, and that is like a Kabbalah Satainis. However, what you should do, if you wish to, is before you go to sleep, what you do is you say, I'm not being makabel the tainus with my sleep, and therefore when you wake up in the middle of the night, if you do, and it's an hour or two before Alois, and you say, oh great, let me chop a bowl of cereal or whatever, so then that would be fine, you'd be able to do that. The Ramah does say that you are allowed to drink, even if you did not make it tonight. That means that if you wake up in the middle of the night and you look at your watch and like, oh, Alois is in 20 minutes. This is gavaldik. Let me go and chop a couple of glasses of water before the tainus begins and go back to sleep. So that would be mutter. Even if you do not have it tonight, the reason for that is the Ramah says is because it's a normal thing for a person to drink in the middle of the night, but it's not kind of a normal thing for a person to eat in the middle of the night, right? You masking with that one? No. Have you seen Shiva Boys? Okay, so that is the important idea of number one. You have to know that Gabe Tainus Esther. If a person, I don't know why, but someone once said to me that, oh, if you by mistake eat or drink on a Tainus, you're allowed to continue eating, right? Because I've already broken the fast. Obviously the halacha is no. The Gemara says, Misha Eichel Shum, if a person ate garlic, what should you do? Eat another garlic? Just because you did one thing wrong doesn't mean you do something else wrong. There's no such din. It's like a person said the same thing. A person ate by mistake milk in the middle of a 6-hour waiting, right? He's waiting 6 hours to eat milk after meat, and he by mistakes, he ate a bite of chocolate. Oh, I'm already milky now. Now I can continue eating cheese, milk, avada not, right? You can't do that. There is such a shita, but I'm not going to go into it at this moment of time. But that's not our sugya. But if a person did by mistake eat, he has to continue and do that. Now, if a person by mistake makes a bracha, for example, let's say, for example, you come downstairs, you make yourself a coffee, you make a bracha shahakol nihiyeh bidvaro. It's a fast day today. What do I do now? Some of the boys can say, give a little bit of a sip, just so it shouldn't be a bracha levatollah, because bracha levatollah is a very, very serious issa. Now, the Mishnah Berurah says in Tovkov Samach Zayin, what about rinsing your mouth and brushing your teeth? Mishnah Berurah doesn't discuss brushing your teeth, but he discusses rinsing your mouth in the morning of a tainus. And he does say that if a person is b'tsar, if it's very, very difficult for a person to, he wants to sit and learn with his chavrusa all morning, whatever it is, and he's going to feel very, very uncomfortable to do so, or he has a lot of tsar to be able to daven in that way, so then there is a mokum to be makel to rinse out your mouth. It says the Mishnah Berurah, make sure you lean forward to ensure that none of the liquid goes down, because obviously that's a problem. But if you lean forward, then you'll be okay. And what? What about brushing your teeth? Beautiful question. Dayan Weiss, the Minchas Yitzchak asked this kasha, and the Minchas Yitzchak paskins that's the same din as rinsing out your mouth, which basically means if a person is b'tsar and he needs to do this in order to daven, in order to talk, in order to learn, in order to continue with the day, then there is a mokum to be makel over there. Medication is generally mutter on a tainus. Obviously, it's better to have it without liquid if you can. If it's not possible to have it without liquid, and you need to take the medication, then you can have a little bit of liquid, a little bit of water just to swallow it down. You don't have to be poigim the mayim, which you would theoretically have to do on Tisha B'Av or Yom Kippur, because it's a much more of a lower darga of a tainus in that way. So that's an important idea as well. What's that again?
Is that
Any medication is fine. Any medication is fine. A person has a headache, for example, you can take a headache pill. If you can pop the pill without having to swallow it with water, then obviously that's better. If you are a type of person that you cannot swallow it without water, even though it's a little bit of a headache, then it's absolutely fine. There's no din of a choyle over here. Obviously, if a person's a real choyle, maybe he shouldn't even be fasting. That's a different shaila. We've discussed this many, many times, right? Someone once came to, I think it was the Briskerov, and he said, told him his medical situation, and the Briskerov said, "You're potter. You don't have to fast. You're a choyle. A choyle in this situation is potter from fasting." Okay, very good. Came to Kriyas HaTorah by Mincha, and he wanted to get an aliyah. And the din is generally, you give an aliyah to someone on a tainus only to someone that's actually fasting. So he wanted an aliyah. For whatever reason, he wanted an aliyah. And the Briskerov said to him, what do you mean? You're not fasting. You can't have an aliyah. You have to be fasting. He's like, no, I didn't break my fast yet. He's like, that's not called fasting. That's called not eating. So if a person is in a situation where he is a choila and he should not be fasting, then you should not be fasting. There's no din to be machmir, especially when it comes to Tanis Esther. Now, showering, you should know, showering normally, we do Ashkenazim, Sfarim or more mekel. The Ashkenazim are generally more machmir than on a Tanis, we don't have a hot shower. However, Tanis Esther, we can be a little bit more mekel, as I pass from Nissen Karelis and Chotshoni, especially as it is covered the Heilige Purim, which, maybe not in Yerushalayim, but outside Yerushalayim, it's for sure covered Purim, because Tanis Esther is Mamish Erev, right? So it's that's how it works. Now, listening to music, it's interesting, the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says generally, on a tainus, you do not listen to music. When it comes to tainus Esther, there's more of a mokum to be mekel. However, Rav Elyashiv Zatzal once said that in a chanami, the din of tainus Esther is not a din als churban beis hamikdash. The tainus Esther has no connection be'etzem to the churban in a direct manner, the same way as Sarah B'Teves and Som Gedalia and everything else does. But Akaponim, he said it's still a yom tainus, so a person should try not to, but if a person needs to, then yesh ami lismoich. That was the psak of Rav Elyashiv Zatzal. Haircuts, the Belzadai and Shevet HaKahasi, Reb Shammai Gross Shlita, paskins that you should try to avoid haircuts and shaving on a tainus. Okay, Reb Nissan Karelis, the Maisa was makel, so I guess welcome to be makel in that case over there. Now, a very important thing that I want to tell you from the Heilige Kavayasha. Any of you that have had this chos of learning the Kavayasha is an incredible sefer. So the Kavayasha brings a chelet base Perek Tzadi Zayin. Look this up. He brings down that a person should daven on Tainus Esther not to come to any chait or ovoin on Purim through the excessive eating, or in some cases even drinking. And therefore a person should be casing. He brings another reason for Tainus Esther, the Heilige Kavayusha. He brings another reason for the fast of Tainus Esther, that the Magid Meishorim, everybody knows the Magid Meishorim was the Heilige Malach that taught the Beis Yosef what to write in the Shulchan Aruch. And he brings, again, this is all in the Kavayusha, in Chedet Beis Perek Tzadi Zayin. He brings that the Malach revealed to the Beis Yosef that because we are choishes that through all the eating and drinking and the Simcha, Klal Yisrael may possibly come to an Aveira, so the Rebbeinu Shalom was maktim the fast as a sgula that will save Klal Yisrael from a chait, and therefore the Satan will have no koyach to bring Klal Yisrael to an Aveira. As they state the Kavayasha from the Magid Misharim, and that's a very, very important thing. We've said this before as well, that the Kaf HaChaim famously writes by a tainus is a skula for a person to work on kas, on anger, something we've been working on in the Shurim at 12:15, but the Kaf HaChaim says that a tainus is a special time for that as well. Obviously we're all familiar with the Gemara Brachas Davav on the base, that the schar for a tainus is not necessarily the non-eating, but it's the tzedakah that you give on the tainus. It's a very important thing to give tzedakah on a tainus, and the Rosh says that Tainus Esther is a specific skula for tefillah. If a person wants to daven, we were just by Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and he answered a few questions when people asked him, and he said, daven. So davening is a gewaldige Zach every single day of the year. But the Rosh says, on Tainus Esther, that's even more of a chashuv zman. If a person needs something, he should try to daven for it on Tainus Esther. So Rabbi said, take that opportunity on Tainus Esther to daven for what you need. Let's move on, Rabbi Say. Okay, so we've done now I just want to give you a disclaimer right now. We are not going to be discussing at this moment of time the differences this year to every other year, the nafkamina of a 3-day Purim or Purim on an Erev Shabbos, which I've got some emails of requests and all these sorts of things. In Hashem, we'll talk about the nafkamina of this year's shilas as they are different to every other year, right? Every year has its shilas. This year has its Kereshailis, Asin Yerushalayim. We have a 3-day Purim. We have to know what to do. When are we doing the Megillah? When are we doing Matanas Evyonim? When are we doing Shlach Manos? When are we doing Suda? How many times do we have to drink? How many times do we have to give Matanas Evyonim? How many times do we have to give Shlach Manos to feed all the Shitas? We'll get to that, Be'ez Hashem. Right now we're going through the regular normal halachas that apply to every single person on their particular day. Okay? Now, we have done Tainis Esther. We'll get to the Megillah now. Okay? Before we get to the Megillah, we have to discuss Leil HaPurim. Leil HaPurim, the Mishabur and Tovei Sadi Hesikot and Gimel brings the Achroinim that it's nochoin for a person to wear big day Shabbos, Heilige Shabbos clothing on the night of Purim. Candles are meant to be lit, the beds are meant to be made, the table is meant to be set with the tablecloth. The Kafachayim brings down in Sikot and Yud Gimel that some people bring down to even wear big day Yom Tov. That's nicer than big day Shabbos. Mishabur says big day Shabbos. The Kafachayim brings down from Achroinim a whole big day Yom Tov. Big day Yom Tov is a high madrega than big day Shabbos over there. And many go to the mikveh on Erev Purim like they would go on Erev Yom Tov. Again, these are all inyonim and minhagim. The Sudas Balayla. Okay, again, I'm slightly skipping because obviously Megillah goes before the Sudas Balayla, but just to get this one done, and then we'll move on to the Megillah. The Ramon Sematovre Sadihei brings down mitzvah laharbes besudas Purim ubesuda aleph yotze. Meaning, there's a mitzvah to be married and sudas Purim, but one suda is enough. Meaning, generally, he's discussing the sudas haPurim that we're going to have. For example, us, we're going to have it on a Sunday, or in outside Yerushalayim and the Chutzos, they're going to have it on a Friday. That is going to be good enough. However, carries on the Shulchan Aruch, if you make a suda at night, you're not yotze. In other words, if you want to make your Purim Suda at night, meaning after the Megillah, you want to come home and have a Purim Suda, that is not Yaitza. The Purim Suda has to be the following day. The Ramah, however, adds, and here in Yeshiva we try to be makpid on this Ramah, Umikomokum gam belayla, Yismach, be happy, v'yarbek tzas besuda. Okay, and be married a little bit in Suda, right? So therefore we see from here, there's an Inyan even on the night of Purim. And again, obviously we'll have to discuss what's considered the night of Purim for us in Yerushalayim. But for everyone else, it's for sure going to be the night of the Megillah. There's a mitzvah and the Inyan to be besimcha and to be married b'ktsas as well over there. The Shartzian brings down from the Kolboy that you're not mechuyev to eat meat in the night. Dafko, you should not eat meat, he held, so you shouldn't get confused with the Suda by day, with the Darkei Moshe and the Taz, and many in the Aruch HaShulchan Paschas this way, Halacha L'Maisa, held that you are allowed to have meat on the night of Purim. That's one thing. Okay, now, there's Archas Chaim that brings a Yafal Alev that the meaning was to eat Leil Yud Daled and after Shachas cheese because the Torah is nimshal to Kvina and it's Zeicha to Hodav a Kibla, the Makabal the Torah again. But anyway, these are all others minhagim in there over there. The Stipler Lemaisa, as was told over by his son Reb Chaim, did not eat a Suda at night. He had a little bit of a mazoinus and obviously wine, because the Stipler was makbid to have wine, I think, every single day during Adar. Now, let's move on. Very, very important Nakuda that everybody here has to remember and has to Be'ez Hashem take advantage of. And that is the Heilige Chassam Sofer. The Chassam Sofer says a very, very big Yesod. I don't have the Lashon in front of me, but I'll just quote you in English what he basically says. And he says that anyone that's Oisik in Torah between the Megillah by night and the Megillah by day, which for us and for everyone is basically going to be this year, next week, Thursday night, Friday morning. Again, anyone that's Oisik b'Torah between the Megillah by night and the Megillah by day, says the Heilige Chassam Sofer, Muftach lo yishu ben olam haba. That's an incredible thing. That's an incredible thing. It's a guarantee that you're a ben olam haba, as I state Heilige Chassam Sofer, which means that everyone should try to be koveya, bisalimut HaTorah, between the Megillah by night and the Megillah the next morning. Sit down, open up a Gemara, open up a Mishnayos, open up a Chumash, open up a Mishnah Berurah, whatever it may be. Learn epis, listen to a shir, something. Be oisik in Torah. Tell you a moed gezacha by say. The Heilige Imar Yosef, the Olim are familiar with the Imar Yosef, right? Hello? Oy. The Spinker Rebbe, unbelievable. The Imar Yosef Rabbi said, listen to this Maisa, it's V'naya. The Heilige Spinker Rebbe on Leil HaSeder, the night of Seder night. So he said the whole Haggadah, and it was Mama's Kol HaMarba, how he said Meshubach, and then obviously afterwards he said Shir HaShirim. He was like, what do I do now? I'm finished. It's not Shachris yet. So what do I do? So he's thinking, you know what I'm going to do? So the Imar Yosef, I'm going to say Megillah Esther. Why? Because most of what happened at Megillah was actually Pesach time. So he started saying Megillah Esther. He started lining the Megillah, and after a few cups of wine, you can understand he was a little bit tired. It was, 4 or 5 in the morning, whatever it may be. He fell asleep. And when he was asleep, a dream was revealed to him as follows, that in the Beis Din Shel Maila, there was a process going on, because the Sfarim HaKadoshim bring down that when the Yidden, when Klal Yisrael read the Megillah, the people in Gehenna get released. As I state in the Sfarim HaKadoshim, that when Klal Yisrael are reading the Megillah, people in Gehenna start to get released. So the Spinker Rebbe saw in his dream that while he was reading the Megillah that night on Leila Seder, there was a huge commotion going on by the gates of Gehenna. And everyone was trying to be let out. No, they're reading the Megillah, let's get out. And the Sar, the people, the Sar again said, no, it's not the right time. This is Leila Seder. It's not Purim over here. So they went to the Beis Din Shel Maila and said, Klal Yisrael read the Megillah, we're due to get out right now. So the Beis Din Shel Maila wanted to say, and they realized that what happened was the people that didn't manage to get out by the Megillah, only sometimes people are a little bit lazy, it takes them a little bit of time to walk and get out until they manage. So these people, when they came to us in Purim, they pushed it until they walked out. It took time, right? So it came Seder night, which was a month later basically. So all of a sudden now they got to the gates and they started hearing the Megillah and started to bang to go out. So the Beis Din the Pasch in the Maisa that if the Spinker Rebbe is reading the Megillah, then the Mela they can come out. So the Imam Yosef, what it tells us? It shows us that Purim is a gewaldige opportunity. It's an opportunity that a person that sank to the bottom level, to the lower depths, is able to get out from there. He's able to take himself out from those lower depths. The Purim, the Megillah, we'll have to discuss it on a hashkafic level. Why is it that way, and how do we take advantage of that? B'siyata d'shmaya, we'll talk about that. But that's just one thing I wanted to share with you. Let's just quickly move on to some of the halachas of Megillah. It is asa to eat before the Megillah, both by night and by day, once the Zman arrives. That means once the Zman of Kriyas Megillah arrives, it is asa now to eat. However, you can have a bistel mazonos, you can have a little bit of a drink or something, obviously non-alcoholic. In that case, you're allowed to learn Torah before the Megillah, even after the Zman arrived. And the reason that is, the Magen Avraham says, and he brings B'Shem Dereim, is because number one, the Megillah is Choviv to Klal Yisrael, and therefore we're not going to come to forget, which is normally the Issa why you're not allowed to eat when it's mitzvah Zman comes. And number two is because there's a mitzvah Barabim, there's a mitzvah Dafka to do the Megillah in public, and therefore we're not worried a person will forget in that case. Now remember, obviously a person is fasting, so it's not so negay the eating shaila, right? Because he's going to be fasting anyway. So you've got to wait till after the Megillah. Now, okay, I'm not going to go into Hala Nissim because Hala Nissim is a complicated shaila this year. The Gemara in Megillah Daf Gimel Amud Aleph tells us that the Megillah Mevatlan Talmud Torah Shmoya Mikra Megillah. We'll have to understand why that is so. We don't find Mevatlan Talmud Torah to go and shake lulav, Mevatlan Talmud Torah to eat matzah. Why is it Shmoya Mikra Megillah? Good question. We'll get to that. But Al Kaponim, the Inyan is generally because of Pesumei Nisa, and that's why is the Inyan to have Beroiv Am Hadras Melach, which basically means that a person should try to be in a big minyan for Mikra Megillah, because the more people, the more the more Beroiv Am Hadras Melach, the more there is that crowning the Melach and the more publicity that the Rebbeinu Shalom is getting. However, obviously this year, you have to be careful, right? And I have to be careful what I say, because I can get in trouble for this. But of course, everyone has to keep the regulations that are within his jurisdiction and listen to the local Das Torah and what they're saying legabi this inyan. But here in Yeshiva, anyway, it's not much of a shayla, because we're not going to go be running to bells because they have a bigger minyan, because we have a Yeshiva minyan, and Yeshiva Bacha belongs in Yeshiva. And therefore, we will be having them in Yeshiva. We're a capsule. We're okay. Don't worry. Okay, now, let's move on, Rabbi Isai. Okay, the Zman, the Ikar Zman is from Nacht and not before. As I passed the Mishabur Tofar said, he basically got in Yudalit. B'Shas HaTchak, a person can read a little bit earlier, especially when it comes to, if it gets late, they can read up until Alois, which is when you can read till. But again, before that, generally before starting reading the Megillah, you open up the entire Megillah, you fold it page by page, which it makes it like an Igeres, makes it like a letter, which is what it's meant to be in that case over there. There's a shaila if you have to do that if you're reading it biyochid. By the way, this year we have a little bit of a unique shaila, and that is that those of you in Yerushalayim have to be more makbid to have it with a minyan than normally. Outside Yerushalayim and on a normal year, so you didn't, for example, I don't know if you remember anybody that came to my Suda, like sometimes, it happens, sometimes whatever, a person was only said a very bad headache in the morning, whatever it was, could be, so he didn't manage to listen to the Megillah in the morning, so we managed to make like a guy went into my office and he quickly, lined the Megillah for him. That will not work this year. This year, again, for you in Yerushalayim, you're going to have to be makbid to have it with 10 men. I'm not going into all the different shilas. I told you, we're not discussing all the different shilas. Some say, the Ramah brings in some Kuf Mem Zayin not to touch the actual Megillah because it is a klaf, talking about a real one, or but the minig is to be makel, or but toiv lahachme, to wash your hands. If you are touching a real Megillah, that's a klap, obviously. The bracha of the Megillah should be said standing. The actual reading or the listening of the Megillah, right, obviously except for the Balkora, everyone can be sitting, that's not a problem over there. The Balkora himself obviously has to stand, als covered ha-tzibur. Now, very important as well, and again, I'm not going into the different shilas of this year as opposed to every other year, that the brachas that we make also cover the bracha of the mitzvahs that we do on that day. In other words, the shechiyonu that we make is also covering the shechiyonu on the shlachmonis, matanis levyonim, and everything else that you're going to be mekayim in that day over there. Now, generally, also, by day, the kriyas of Megillah by day, you do not remove your tefillin, right? You do not, say it again, you do not remove your tefillin for kriyas Megillah by day, and the reason for that is because we darshan in the Gemara that vikar elu tefillin. You're meant to have your tefillin on b'shas the kriyas Megillah in that case, and obviously the shachayanu by day. Okay, not the one by night. The one by day is going on all the mitzvahs over there as well. Again, we'll probably announce it at the time over there. Very important that a person has to know is that he has to hear every single word of the Megillah. If you miss one word, you are absolutely not yotza in that case. It's a very, very important. Yisod v'shosh v'avoda and shayud base goes by Riches to explain how important it is for a person to listen to every single word, because it's presumei nisa, and to listen to the neis hagodol that the Rabban Shem did is unbelievable. If you did miss a word, what do we do? So obviously, if you've got a kosher Megillah in front of you, that's even better. But if you read along and you just basically say that word and continue going until you reach up to the Shliach Tzibur, then you're okay. It's a very important halach. If you miss a word, if you miss a hamon, or the word before or after hamon, so just say it yourself, even if you don't have a kosher Megillah, even if you have a regular chumash. Just read the words yourself, a few words, until you get up to where he's holding. If you dozed off and spaced out, as long as you heard what he said, you're yotza. Could you skip? You can always go back and catch up to him. That's not a problem.
Let's say you miss it. Can you wait till the end and then say those words?
No, it has to be peseda. It has to be keseda. At night, if you have a suffix, if you miss the word, generally we're makel. By day, it's divrei kabbalah, and therefore you might not be able to say suffix drabbon kula. It might be that you have to go back again. So you have to understand. So again, we said this yesterday. Legabe parsha zocha. Since it's lashon hakodesh lechatchila, you're 100% yotze, even if you don't understand every word. I think most of us, anyway, who are going to the Megillah shir at night, which is unbelievable, are gaining a tremendous amount of yediyas over here. There are several B'nai Haman, the Shulchan Aruch brings lemaisa that a person should say it in one breath. This all comes from the Rugged Shavim, Tzofnas Paneach al Rambam. That it could be that the Shliach Tzibur cannot be mitzi you the one breath. That's why you have to do it yourself, as opposed to the Shliach Tzibur, who's mitzi you the whole Megillah, cannot be mitzi you with the whole thing over there. That's the thing. Now, a person cannot speak from the first bracha till the end. Even Torah, the Mishnah Berurah says, is asa. To do the Megillah through a microphone or through a phone, you're not yotza. It has to be a kol odom azoi paskin Reb Shlomo Zalman, and we have to be careful of the psukim that we read out loud. If you make a mistake, even though lemaisa the lashon of Shulchan Aruch and Sif Yudalet is ein medaktikin b'tayim lemaisa, okay, if it doesn't change the pshat, you don't have to worry too much. After the Megillah, you stand up, you roll up the Megillah, you make the bracha, and now you can speak over here. So it's important for a person to realize that the Megillah is a very, very important inyan. It's mamish presuming nisa. It gives us all the gavaldig inyanim of Purim. B'siyat Shmaya will be zeicher. Tomorrow we'll continue and move on to the other mitzvahs of the Yom. B'siyat Shmaya. Have a wonderful day.